Weeds are something that's really frustrating no matter how experienced you are as a gardener, and that's why today I'm going to show you how you can solve your weed problem in your garden, and I'm also going to show you some ways that you can use the weeds to your advantage in your garden rather than let them be a nuisance to you. My first method is mulches. So here I've got some hay, and I use hay, grass clippings and compost as mulches in my garden. And with compost I use a no-dig approach on most of my beds, but in some of these containers, like the potatoes here, I use a mulch to try and keep the moisture in and stop the weeds. And these are really effective at stopping the weeds. The one thing you've got to remember is to make sure you keep applying these mulches, because if you apply one mulch and just leave it, it'll mean that the weeds will eventually push through that. So what you need to keep doing is suppressing them and starving them of light by putting these mulches on around your plants and not on top of your own plants, because that'll kill them off as well. So you need to put them around your plants, and then that will help your plants grow, like on here, and break down into organic matter, and also it'll kill off the weeds. And mulches are also separated into two categories, which is non-organic and organic. And organic will be things like hay or compost, and non-organic is things such as weed suppressant plastic material you can get from garden centres, or things like pond liner or any sheeting that you put over your soil that's not made up of organic matter. So things like your plastic covers and things like that. The organic ones are what I use. I never use non-organic ones. And the reason I like organic ones is because they can break down and they help your soil. Whereas the non-organic ones, if you want to grow something else in there, you'll have to cut a hole in it, or you'll need to completely take it off, which I think is more effort. And if you just put an organic one on and it breaks down, it's less effort for you, and it also makes the soil better. Another method is using tools, just like this one, and I recently made a video on my top 5 gardening tools that will help you in deciding what tools you might want to buy. And this is one of my favourites, which will also be linked in the description of this video. And tools are a great way because you can try and get the whole root of the plant out, and without ripping it at all, because sometimes with some weeds, like dandelions for example, if you cut the root, they'll grow back out from that root. So what you might need to do is, for example, I've got some creeping buttercups here, and with these I normally just pull them out because the roots are quite easy to pull out, but sometimes you need something like a serrated edge to cut through them if they're in really compact soil. But normally I pull things out. But tools though, as I was saying, are great for pulling the full root out if you want to get rid of all the weeds' roots in your ground. And they're also great because they often make your life easier on your body, so you're physically less fatigued after using tools rather than things like pulling out, because you can use them to pry things open or pry things out of the ground rather than trying to pull them out with your body weight. The next method is pulling out, so you can literally just get your finger in and pull them out, and this will pull the roots out. And this may seem like a simple one, but a lot of people will turn to the tools before using the pulling out method, which can be a bit more painful with things like nettles and brambles, which you might need to use tools for. But some things like these cleavers, you can just pull them out really easily and the whole root comes with them. And I think pulling out is the one that I use the most, because you can just be going around the garden, going for a walk around the garden, checking up on your plants, and you don't even need to have a tool or anything with you. You can just pull them out and flick them onto your path or over the hedge or whatever, and you don't have to do any work with tools or anything. You can just walk around, pull them out whenever you see one. And that also brings me on to another point, which is to weed little and often. So if you're overwhelmed by your weeds, just do it in sort of separate your garden into sections, and you could say 1 week or 1 day I'm going to do this section, and then once you finish that section it's more accomplishable, which means you feel a lot more proud of yourself and a lot more satisfied when you've done that section, and then that feeling will egg you on to do each next section, and then you'll have completely weeded your garden and you won't even realise. So I mentioned 2 videos ago on my channel about my no-dig gardening approach, and this is one of the great ways, one of my favourite ways of controlling my weeds in my garden, because you don't dig the soil over and expose weed seeds. You just cover them with a mulch of compost, which is a really good way of getting rid of weeds, as I spoke about in my first point. I'd just like to take a second out of this video to make sure that you've subscribed to my YouTube channel down below, and so that you know next time I upload a video by hitting the little bell icon. Now I'm going to talk to you about things that you can do with your weeds once you've pulled them out of the ground. And the first one I'm going to talk about is that you can make your own nitrogen dense fertilizer out of old nettles. So whether you've pulled them out or not, or you can cut them to make sure that they keep coming back, so you can make this fertilizer. So eventually they will turn from a weed to a useful plant. You can cut them and you chop them up loads with shears or whatever you want, or rip them up with some thick gloves on, and you'll put them in a bucket with some water, and you'll put a lid on that bucket because it will get quite smelly, and you leave it for a few days to a week, and you just leave them soaking in this water, and you can stir it every now and then if you want. But this will make a very dark fertilizer, which you should dilute in a watering can before using, on about 1 to 10 in your, so 1 part of this nettle fertilizer to 10 parts water. So if it's a 5 litre watering can, it should be half a litre of fertilizer, and then the rest of it should be water. And this should give you a good mix to feed on a weekly basis to things such as lettuce and other salad things. Another way of using the weeds that you've just plucked out of the ground is by making compost. So you can either have a Dalek compost bin like this, or you can have a pallet compost bin, or there's many other compost bins that you can have. There's plenty of them, and I'll link some down in the description if you do want to buy your own one rather than make one. And this one I got, well, this is older than me, this compost bin, and it's been going well. The only thing that's gone wrong with it is the front panel, which we're using roofing slates instead of, and this is doing a good job as well. So really, you can buy whatever compost bin you think will fit in your space best. But another one is a wormery, which you can click up here to see my wormery video if you'd like. And a wormery is really good for a small space. You can even have it inside, which I wouldn't do, because the worms can escape sometimes, and that wouldn't be very nice. Or you can have it on a balcony or even on a small patio, and you can put food waste and newspapers and cardboard or whatever in it, and it'll turn it into some really rich compost. My last thing that I'm going to say that you can do with your weeds once you've pulled them is, or what you can do rather than moving them or pulling them, you can use a big hoe and you scrape through them, cut the roots, and what you do is wait for a hot day, just like today, and you leave them on the surface of the soil or compost, and they'll wilt then because it's so dry, the surface. They won't be able to re-root, and they'll just wilt and die, and then add back into the soil and the nutrients that they took. So thank you for watching through this video, and if you did like it, please do like the video down below and let me know what you thought of it, and if you're going to use any of these methods in your own garden in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.